this dramione fic rec is going to have the longest intro ever. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and of course today we are having another dramione fanfiction recommendation because that is all that this channel is about, right? But today's video is going to be a little bit different. This is one of the video ideas that I have had for such a long time, probably ever since the start of my channel, but I never really found like a right time to do this video, and so I have been waiting and I decided that let's do it today. So of course this video are going to have some recommendation, but probably at the end. The first part of the video is going to be kind of like a dramione spiel for me to share with you guys why I started reading dramione, which fanfiction did I start, and you know, like just explaining my whole obsessions over this pairing. And if you are only here for the recommendation, then I recommend you using the technologies down here to navigate to the part which you want to watch. But if you decided to stay here and hang out with me in this part, story time begins. So in 2021, I kind of went through a period of time where I didn't really want to do anything except like laying down and watching movies or like reading a book, because I had some kind of event that happened in my life, and in hindsight, like looking back now, it was probably like the most definitive moment in my life, but I was, you know, pretty sad and I didn't really want to do anything except being horizontal. And my boyfriend recommended that I should watch the Harry Potter movies because it was like a series and I would be occupied. I had no knowledge about the Harry Potter world at all. I mean, I knew the characters and like the critical path of the story, but other than that, I knew nothing. And I decided that okay, yeah, let's give it a shot. It's pop culture, right? I should know about it so that I can talk to many more people. And because I watch the movies, right, there's one thing that I have always been bugged when I was watching those movies is how Hermione ended up with Ron at the end, because you knew in the movie he was portrayed so poorly and he was just this kind of jerk who doesn't do anything and ended up with like a golden girl at the end. And after I am into fanfiction, I knew that that was probably like the biggest problem that books readers are pointing fingers to like the movie watchers for, because in the books Ron weren't portrayed like that. Because I didn't read no books before I started watching those movies, I had that opinions on Ron's character and Ron and Hermione relationship. Because I watched the movie once again, I was so in love with the portrait of Draco and Hermione in the 6th movie, the Half-Blood Prince. I just had this feeling that they have some kind of like underlying relationship or some kind of subtext in the 6th movie, and Draco portrait in this movie is just chef kiss. So I was wondering, where can I satisfy these inner needs? I am no stranger to fanfiction because when I was in middle school, I was really into K-pop, and a big part of like the whole K-pop world at that time were fanfictions. But mind you, this was like 10 years of not touching any fan work, and I am no Harry Potter fan, so I was like really lost. But while I was lost, I came across this video on YouTube about kind of like a social experiment where there's a mole in a group of people and the group has to figure out who the mole is, and the mole was doing a really good job and she was mentioning isolation. One of the girls was like, yes, it's like a dramione fanfiction. And I'm like, first clue, I went into Google and I was like, Isolation by Bex Chan. And of course this leading to that, my obsessions begin. Why do I tell you guys the whole story of why I started reading fanfictions? Is because I wanted to give you guys some recommendations on their 6th year at Hogwarts. I knew that this video has the longest introduction ever, but because 6th year has such an impact on me that it started like this whole obsession of mine. Like this whole channel is based off of kind of like their interactions, their little interactions in that 6th movie. I wanna bold text it, I wanna underline it, like highlight it. Anyway, I hope that you have stayed the whole time while I was rambling on and on about the 6th year interaction between these two. But here are some of my favorite 6th year stories of Hermione. My assistant is here, and so we know it's business time. Of course, we are going to start with isolation because I just mentioned it. I know that this is not your 6th year story, this is a 7-year alternative wartime story, but I feel like if you are into that kind of like underlying development that they have in the 6th movie, this would be a great place, if not the best place for you to start with your Dramione fanfiction. And in my opinion, if you are looking to have your first Dramione read, isolation is going to be one of the best choice as well. So this has a very seamless transition from the 6th movie in. This is where Draco was in Snape protection after the event of the astronomy tower, and instead of going on the horror hunting trip with the boys, Hermione stayed back at Hogwarts. Snape brought Draco back to Hogwarts for his protection, and he was placed in the same living quarter with Hermione for his own safety. And how they navigate through that whole close forced proximity situation is how the story begins to unfold. The characterization of Draco and Hermione in here is very close to what I myself imagined them to be. I feel like I was watching an alternative 7 movie, if that makes sense. And for someone like me who doesn't really like how the 7 movie turned out on the romance side, this is really perfect. It had always have a sentimental place in my heart, but that doesn't mean that Isolation is not a great piece of work. It's one of like the best Hermione work that I have ever read, and so I would always recommend Isolation by Bex Chen. The second recommendation, of course, is going to be The Disappearances of Draco Malfoy by speechwriter. And this again is the 7th-year alternative wartime story where Draco accepts Dumbledore's offer for protection on top of the astronomy tower. And I have read so many opinions online saying that the writing, the characterization, the pace, the details of Disappearances of Draco Malfoy is very close to the Harry Potter's books. Public opinion is that The Disappearances of Draco Malfoy should be the official 7 books in the Harry Potter series. Of course, I cannot say anything because I haven't read the book, but when I was reading, I can tell why people had that reaction. The development of Draco and Hermione in here kind of follow the development of the plot. It is a fast-paced story, so if you want something to keep you on your toe and keep you reading, this is gonna be it. I wish that there are a little bit more hostility, animosity between the parties in this story, and I also wish that there were a little bit more Hermione development in here because that is my my own personal preference. But otherwise, it is a great piece of work, and this is among the most well-written Hermione that I have ever read, so please go ahead and read it. Next, we have Trust and Lie by Max Boyd, and this has already appeared in my top favorite Hermione of all time, the first video ever that I have made on this channel. If you want more recommendation or you want to find out more about my favorites, please go ahead and head out to that video. This is gonna fit the descriptions of a 6th-year story a little bit more because it diverged from the start of the 6th year. Hermione unexpectedly saved Draco's life in a very sticky situation at the beginning of their 6th year, and so they had to form these allianceships kind of to navigate through the whole course of the 6th year and the war after that. This is just one of the most beautifully written fan fiction that I have ever read. So many of the quotes that I memorized or like I wrote down, I saved, is from this story alone. And the characterization of Draco in here is just chef kiss. If you're into that boyfriend material, soft boy kind of characterization, this is going to be perfect. And the supporting character in this are just, there are many original characters, so hand off to the author for all of that. And before Trust and Lie, I have never had a problem, or like I'm not very picky when it comes to the writing in fan fiction, but Trust and Lie just raised the bar. Be careful if you're reading these stories, may ruin some other reading experience that you have because it is so well written, I promise you. And the next 2 recommendations kind of give me the same vibe, so I kind of grouped them together, and that is Silencio by Tasha the Kitty and On the Nature of Daylight by Icarus. Both of the story kind of highlight a very toxic relationship between Draco and Hermione. If you're into that more toxic relationships, then these pieces are great for you. They are both 6-year secret relationship type of situation, but personally I'm not really into reading toxic relationship development, and so these are not for me. But it doesn't mean that they are not great. If that is something that you want to read, please go ahead and read it because it's really well written and well developed. It was only my personal preference that prevented me from falling in love with them. They are a great piece of work for you to read if you're into this type of situation. Lastly, I'm going to give an honorable mention to Clean and Mark by Olivia Blake. This is one of the stories where Hermione knows what's happening in 6th year behind Draco's mask, and she helps. I really didn't fall in love with the writing and the pacing and the detail of this story, but I know Olivia Blake is one of the most notable authors when it comes to the dramione fandom, and all of her work have been loved by so many people, and she has a great list of work. If you fall in love with her writing, you will have material to go on for days. But I don't really want to make a comment on it lest I take away the experience for you guys. And so please also go ahead and head out if you are into that writing, the details and development, all that kind of good stuff. And last but not least, last but most importantly, I want to give you guys a one-shot that is If Then by Sante. Why do I give a one-shot for you guys in here? Because it is just a great piece of work despite the length. If Then, it's just how I imagine the relationship would be in the 6th year and beyond, away from Harry I. The writing in here just break your heart. Some of the details in here I memorized, and I just love how soft the relationship is in this, and they never had to talk much to each other, but they understand each other so well, and they love each other so much that it's show in the action. Like, it's not spelled out on the screen for you, but you have to do that kind of heavy lifting yourself, and you have to pick it from the action, like the small touches, the small things that they do for each other in this story. And it is just right up my alley. It is my cup of tea, and the angst that I want to endure for this couple. I will not be able to make a 6-year recommendation without putting if then in here. And that is the end of my story time, my unnecessary story time, probably no one has story time, but I want to highlight my obsessions with their 6-year interaction and the development and the portrait of them in the 6th year. And the 6-year portrait will always be my imagination, like my fan cast for all of the fan fiction that I read. So now you know why I started reading Dramione, how I started reading Dramione. It was my first piece of Dramione, and you also have some great, hopefully 6-year pieces recommendations for you to read. And I hope that occupies you until the next time I give you guys another video. And of course, thank you again for all of the support when I was away, and of course on my last video as well. I hope you guys have a good time reading. And